I guess it's working. I just don't know, guys. It's not working for me. I guess it's. Oh, am I too far away? Testing. Yeah, that's what the deal with hypercardio effect is. Oh well, I mean it sounds better, so we'll do it until somebody complains. Boy, it's quiet. Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, that should work. I mean, nobody's gonna come. I can tell already. This stream is a total disaster. Whatever. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm bored. I'm just going to keep doing it. currently in the Ender Games.
Looking for a new thing.
They're doing good. They're doing good. Oh my god, sorry, it's been a very frustrating day. My internet is behaving very and I've been trying to get it on. I've been trying to get it working all day, and it's finally connection is stable. Please, for the love of God, let the connection stay stable. Because I've had to start and stop this stupid stream like 6 times. Anyways, they're doing good. They're they're still bulls. They've got it made. Do we eat bulls? Like, or is it? Is that like the dumbest question in the world? Let's see. Steer, right? Okay, we do. Sort of. Sort of. Not sort of. Yes, we do. So why sort of is because in, I guess, farming terminology, a bull is an uncastrated male, like cow, and we don't eat them. We eat steer, which are castrated male cows. So that's the difference. So, there's that. That's a bull sesh right there. I actually didn't know that. Apparently, well, we do eat male cows. It's just that you don't eat like bulls because like they're specifically, because in farmer parlance, in terms, a bull is a castrated. I'm gonna pull up YouTube just so I can see you easier. In farmer parlance, a bull is an uncastrated cow. Steers are castrated. Apparently the meat, uncastrated, doesn't taste very good, so. Me too. Mine was a big F, but I have a very good reason for that. About halfway through, I had to go to the hospital. So that's what happened with that. Robin, thank you so much for the raid. How's it going, Rob? I don't know. I still like the idea I came up with for Nano. I'm still trying to do it, but I keep getting sick. Not sick, but I've just not been feeling mentally up for writing lately. For that very reason. Robin, tell me, how are things going? Are you asleep? I don't know what's going on with my internet. I may switch to downstairs for a while. Chill, yes, that is very good. Can you guys see me clearly? I'm very frustrated tonight, as I have been most nights, because of internet stuff. My internet, for some reason, has decided to not be good. I may have to call somebody in about this. This is ridiculous. I mean, the point about Nano, yeah, I'm doing that, man. I'm doing that. I was trying really hard to be healthy. It's fine. This has been a problem I've been having for a while, and there's a lot of. I'll say we'll see. There's a good chance I'm gonna need some surgery. Not really serious surgery, fairly minor surgery that I should pretty easily recover from, but they want to make sure I'm okay. And then for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be like the most health conscious dude in the world, and I'll be very annoying to people, but it's just what I'm gonna have to be. This internet thing. Oh, it's frustrating me to know. The connection seems to be good right now. I hate the winter. Hey, tell me something. How's the audio? Does it sound noticeably? How's the audio? Does it sound noticeably better? Well, noticeably better. I'm trying something new with it. No, yeah, my biggest frustration right now is that the internet is making me annoyed. saw this girl on TikTok, and her audio, she used the same microphone I use, but her audio was like so much better than mine. There we go. Audio was so much better than mine, and so she gave a tutorial on how she does it, and I'm like, oh, that seemed pretty easy. So I tried that out, and it seems to have improved it. I don't know. So you reading anything? Anybody know wrestling? Anybody follow wrestling? Nah. Anybody follow Buck Wild? Tell me about that. Like you're looking into like who influenced Nietzsche. You probably. It's funny how nobody in the U.S. pronounces Nietzsche with a Z, and I've never once been able to figure out how to, because I'm sure Westerners, English speakers are all pronouncing it wrong, but individuality, thousand individuality. Guys, you come in here late. What have you found? I know there was a Greek philosopher he was quite a big a fan of. I remember reading about that. There was a pre. What do they call it? Like, there's a specific term, pre-Socrates philosopher that he was quite a big fan of. Yeah. I forget which one. He was big. He was the guy into kind of fight. There's from what I remember that Nietzsche was not really a huge fan of the Greeks. No, he wasn't a huge fan of Socrates, and I think his critique is fairly like on the nose, or correct, not because he's like, like I remember he's like, like a lot of these guys, like they seem to kind of hate a lot of like the good things about Western society. I was like, oh yeah, that's like Socrates kind of hated democracy, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh, I've got all those books somewhere. I believe I keep. Have you read Das Spuk Zathura? Dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Da da. Dun 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 dun. Da da. Have you read who's Camus? Yeah. That sounds more like Nietzschean thoughts to me. I mean, Nietzsche's who's the Greek it's not who's the Greek philosopher that lived in the barrel? Is that No, yeah, that's Dionysian, right? That's Dionysian. Yeah, I like Dionysian. Everybody likes Dionysian. Yeah. I mean, Dionysian was literally the birth of cynicism, the Cynic philosophy, which is always pretty great. Do you know? Here's a fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Yeah, Dionysian. Yes, that's it. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah. He's my favorite. He's my favorite of the Greek philosophers. Fun fact: if people don't know, he's considered like the birth of the Cynic philosophy. And if you want to know why is it called, and if you want to know the origin of the word cynic, cynic is roughly, I believe, means like dog or dog-like. You can hear it in like, and that's where the name comes from. That's all. Because like the cynics always tried to behave sort of like, because they always like called the cynic kind of wild because of that. Here's a fun fact. We know that specifically. Here's a fun fact. Cerberus. We know that Cerberus specifically is a dog and not a wolf, because Cerberus, what is it? It's like Cambrianus, or it's an old English, not old, we can trace it as an Indo-European word for spotted. So like Cerberus's name kind of translates pretty much into spotted. So like I like that. I got this from a video. I don't remember who. Cerberus means literally means spot. That's his name. Spot is his name. Which that's always my favorite fun fact about. Greek myth is that Cerberus literally translates into spot. Yeah. I have heard that. I have heard that. I mean, that's probably like a myth, but wouldn't it be great if it was true? Yeah. Well, the story goes that Alexander asked Diogenes advice and said, no, what is the story? Oh, it's such a great story because it's one of those classic like Greek lines where it's like, fuck, I forget it. Sorry, this is like half remembered stuff from like 5 years ago when I was super into Greek history and philosophy. The problem, do you ever think? I think about this a lot. I was very fascinated by this thought. Like, do you think Socrates, do we think we actually know what Socrates actually believed in? I mean, we vaguely know what he actually believed in, but the problem is, most of our writing about Socrates comes from, Plato. I know there's another one that wrote about him, so we have a sense, we have a little bit more outside, but Socrates, Plato wrote, most of what we have surviving is written by, Plato. I've heard it. I remember hearing a slightly different variation where basically Alexander was a kind of being an asshole and said, well, what? The variation I remember is that is that Alexander asked Dio how could he lead what would be the best way to lead an empire, and Dio said to him, get out of my son, get out of my way, you're blocking my son. And it's supposed to be that's this version of the story I heard, but it's probably this whole anecdote is probably made up to begin with, so I mean, I guess it points to the whole Cynic philosophy of the natural world and rejecting modernity and stuff like that. Favorite fun fact about Plato that Plato is not his real name. We actually don't really know what Plato was a nickname because he used to be a wrestler. And Plato translates into broad because he was broad-shouldered. No, I'm sure you're remembering it right, because I've heard variations of that story before, where what it's always the same is that Dio responds, "Get out of my way." But what? Yeah, Plato's a nickname. I believe it loosely translates into like broad or broad-shouldered. Yeah, because like that was the because Plato was a wrestler when he was a young man, and that's the nickname his coach gave him. So imagine like Hulk Hogan or Randy. Randy Savage is like the founder of Western civil, is the founder of the Western. It's ooh. Yes, that's a good one too. Of course, the question is, how did Dio, who was, by all accounts, a vagabond, had all these interactions with the most powerful man in the world at the moment? Who knows? There's another great one where it's what's it Zero's paradox. So have you heard this one before? Okay, so the basic oh no, it's not wrong. I'm just it's not wrong because it's a funny story that adequately sums up the entirety of like the Cynic like philosophy, the ideas of the Cynics in pretty much 2 sentences. So like it's good. Yeah, who cares if it's real? It does its job well. So the story goes that Zeno's paradox. Zeno is the guy who came up with this. Zeno's paradox is this. Okay. Every time you get up and every time you walk, you first have to travel the half of the way to walk there. But then you have to travel half of the way of that. And then you have to travel half of the way of that, and 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 half of the way of that. And the question is like, how does anybody get anywhere if they must walk like this infinite amount of steps before they can take one step, move at all? And Zeno and Dio supposedly answered this by saying nothing and getting up and walking away. I believe, part of the problem with Dio is that I believe like a lot of, this is one of these funny things where it's like, yeah. Yeah, well, the Greeks were kind of, that was an obsession with the Greeks that, the question is, how far could you cut something down before you couldn't cut something down anymore? Because there's a few other like paradoxes where they ask that, like, let's see. People always come in too late for these. Like, I drew this early. Yeah. I drew this earlier today, like earlier on stream, and when nobody was here. And I'm like, this was pretty good. I was doing good. Nobody was here. Then people come, and then now I'm struggling. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it goes further back than that. Do you know Pythagorean didn't invent the Pythagorean theorem? I'm not being a conspiracy theorist here. He didn't actually. Yeah. Pythagoras was kind of a cult leader. You know, he had a school like a lot of philosophers did, but his was like they were obsessive and they kind of believed him to like speak directly to the gods. And the reason we call it Pythagorean theorem is because some of his followers later in time kind of came up with the theorem. Yeah. Exactly. Well, the Greeks invented the bull sesh, which I'm sure they kind of borrowed from, like, say, the Indians or Iranians. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I was, yeah. Because it's like at some point, like the universe, like what that means is for the universe to have like motion or something. At some point, like there has to be no more you can boil down to, I guess. But there were philosophers I know that like Greek philosophers that Nietzsche liked. There's one of the yeah, it's just frustrating because I was doing well and then I was struggling. Like one of like I remember you know where I got a lot of my knowledge from. This is gonna sound so nerdy, which I'm never, however. But there was a comic book series called Action Philosophers, produced when I was a teenager that I really liked, and the idea was that each issue would go over like a basic points of like philosophy, like the history and the philosopher's ideas. So it's like that's where I learned like a lot about philosophy was from this comic book series. That's how I first kind of got interested in all this stuff. It taught me like very basic knowledge on a lot of like different philosophers. Listen, if they put it in a comic, I'll I'll remember it. My yeah. Yeah. It's a fun. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, it was pretty good because like one thing I'll say about certain philosophy books is that they are often dry and impenetrable and rely a little bit too much. Like I've tried when I read some philosophy books, they'll say like, "Oh, well, you're gonna have to read this book to understand it," and it's like a 2,000-page tome. You're like 15 pages into it, and it's just like, well, to truly understand what I'm saying, I'm gonna have to reference this other philosopher, and it's like 5 or 6. Like like there's so many philosophy books that expect you to read like hundreds of pages of other philosophy books to get even a basic idea of what they're talking about. Yeah. Well, I think a lot. Like, were you a teenager when you read the nihilism stuff? I think nihilism is pretty power. People, teenagers like nihilism a lot. That's you. Like, not to discredit nihilism. I have a friend who's kind of a nihilist, and I don't want to be mean, but nihilism is very appealing for the teenager. Yeah, of course you did. That's when everybody reads nihilism. To be fair, I'm no better. I was like 16 when I started reading Nietzsche, so. And Nietzsche isn't a nihilist, but he definitely like nihilists do like Nietzsche a lot. I mean, Nietzsche couldn't be a nihilist because nihilism doesn't really become a concrete thing until after Nietzsche, and they're inspired by Nietzsche. Exactly. And that's not. And that's an oversimplification of nihilism. I prefer like more absurdism nowadays, but like I'm more of a Camus guy nowadays, where I'm like, it's like you must like just accept the absurdities of the universe, and except that it may be pointless, but but the pointlessness may also be the point of life. Like, the pointlessness is the point in a weird way, you know? Is kind of where I am now. Although I do feel like, you know, people do fall into this thing of like, yeah. I also like, I'll just point this out there. I think Camus is legitimately like, one problem with some philosophers, I won't name names, but there are a few philosophers out there who have like a lot of really interesting ideas, but aren't like particularly great writers, if that makes sense. Like, there are some philosophers, like, I think why one of the reasons Nietzsche appeals to people around the world for so long is that Nietzsche is legitimately quite a good writer. Like, his stuff is poetic and beautiful, you know. His writing is poetic and beautiful and full of you know, grand imagery. And I would argue that Camus is also, in many ways, just a good writer. Like, on top of everything. Like, if you've ever, like, Camus stuff is, you know, the thing about Camus is that Camus is funny. You know, he's witty. His stuff is like energetic and quite charming to read at times, you know? There are other philosophers out there who, no offense to them, are kind of a dirge to try and read their books. Because, you know, for as smart as they are, and for as how many interesting ideas as they are, I'm going to say it. I think it's Descartes. I think Descartes is quite boring to read. Ugh. And also, you know, it helps get your message out there if you're legitimately good at presenting your message, I think. Like, I remember, like, I had a philosophy, you know, he was a world cinema professor, and he made an interesting point that in many ways, like, the Russian Revolution was, like, inspired as much by, like Trotsky and, oh Christ, who wrote Crime and Punishment? Now I'm feeling stupid. Russian names sometimes throw me off. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I love, like, I love The Stranger is one of my favorite books. If that isn't, if I've never said that out loud, I've talked about that before. That The Stranger is one of my favorite books, but I love The Stranger. A legitimately amazing book, like full of like weird dark humor too. Oh yeah, and Camus always has great opening. Like, Camus is great at like opening lines. Anyways, I haven't read The Plague yet. I should. I'd be interested to read that because it's because one interpretation, one person, a bit of criticism I read for it, not criticism like, oh, this is bad, more like criticism like, oh, what's this about? Said that in many ways it's about like Nazi Germany and stuff, and I'm like, ooh, that's like, and like how fast. It's a good metaphor. Yeah, it's like in that one line you're like, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Yeah, because it's like, and it immediately. Son. Have you ever seen the what's the movie? The Man Who Wasn't There. The Coen Brothers movie, The Man Who Wasn't There. I watched that movie first, and I didn't realize that it was in many ways that it was an adaptation of Camus until I read the book years later. It didn't like strike me. I didn't realize like that's. You gotta start with like a strong opening line like that. I should read that again. That's a classic. I read that on the bus when I was taking frequent bus trips from. It's not like a direct one-for-one adaptation. They change the setting from, Algeria to the U.S. There's a lot of but when you compare the two, you're like, oh yeah, I can see, like, you realize, oh yeah, this, this is very much an adaptation of they put their own spin on it, but it's very much. We used to be okay with letting people do that. Now, books must be adapted exactly. I mean, to be fair, there's been many film adaptations of The Stranger, so it's not like if you want an exact adaptation, it's not like it's hard to find. That's one of my. I should rewatch that because I usually think I think that movie quite. I love the Coen brothers. They're my favorite directors. I've been trying to do like more movie related stuff on my various social needs page, because I kind of, when COVID, I used to go to the movies quite frequently, and then COVID happened, and I stopped going to. By the way, I just had a doctor's appointment today, and my doctor has said I do not get enough sun. Like, to the fact that they need to give me supplements because I don't get enough sun. So like, ooh, gotta change that lifestyle just a little bit. Yeah. I will put that on the list of things I need to see. It's cold. It's cold right now. I don't like going outside when it's cold. Ooh, this looks interesting. Ooh. Oh, probably shouldn't have read the critical reviews, because they said compared to certain authors' works. So, I suspect that there's a twist in the plot coming up. I love Thomas Pynchon. I may give this a look. I suspect that there's a little bit of a twist. Because I'm like, oh, a man investigates some deaths in Turin. And I'm like, oh. And then like they say, compared to H.P. Lovecraft and Thomas Pynchon. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thomas Pynchon is always such a hard guy to emulate, I think. I have a professor who says her professor is certain that she's met Thomas Pynchon, at least. Because apparently, like, because what they think, because what she says he said, this is secondhand information, secondhand news, but at least is that apparently Pynchon will do this thing where he'll say he's like sending his lawyer out if he needs to meet people. He'll say like, oh yeah, I'll send my lawyer, like a guy will show up claiming he's Thomas Pynchon's lawyer and stuff. And they're relatively certain that this lawyer is in fact Pynchon himself. Have you ever read a Thomas Pynchon book? I've read 2. I have all. I should read some more. And I've read the more like lightweight ones, apparently. I've read The Crying of Lot, what's it, 49, and then what's the other one? Oh, Inherent Vice. I read Inherent Vice. I read it because the movie was coming out. I used to go by Bigfoot Bjornsson on social media stuff for a while, so yeah, I'm very familiar with Thomas Pynchon. Yes, you must. If you like classic modernist literature, you will. Pichant will be very much up your alley. Start with the Crying of Lot 49. That's one of his more shorter and accessible books, even though it's strange as hell. It's about this woman who discovers a secret mailing system, secret mailboxes that are. So the story is it's about this woman, and she discovers secret mailboxes that are designed to look like trash cans that are being operated on a mysterious second postal service, and it kind of goes from there, because it could be just people. It looks like there's these people throwing out trash, but if you pay close enough attention, you'll notice that these are not trash cans, they're mailboxes. And there's a secret cadre of mailmen delivering strange, unusual messages around the world. So the famous thing about Pichant is, if you've never read Pichant, what more like lurid things that people are quite fascinated by him with is that Pichant is one of these people that has never been seen in public, ever. Very few people have met him in real life. And he does not do publicity or have pictures taken of him. We only have one known photograph of him, and that's his high school yearbook. And there's a second photograph being floated about, but that's just a theoretical age up of Thomas Pichant. So we know. And we know that he lives in New York somewhere. We know that he lives in New York. He was in the Navy at some point, and then after that, nobody knows where he is, what happens to him, or what he does. Yes. Now, there are a few people that have claimed to have met him, and apparently when he needs to physically be in one place, he'll supposedly send a lawyer, like a lawyer or a representative or an agent of his, his to represent him, and people are fairly certain that this is him. But it's very hard to, I love this. There are only his voice. One was in a trailer for his latest book that he wrote, which was 2 or 3 years ago. And the other 2 times is when he guest starred on The Simpsons. That's the only time that's one of the only times he's ever had his voice recorded. It was when he guest starred on The Simpsons. Yeah. Start with The Crying of Lot 49. Or just watch the movie Inherent Vice. Inherent Vice, though, I will say, is a little bit more of a departure from his usual style. It's pretty weird, but it's a little bit more low key than what he usually does. His stuff is very strange, mysteries and stuff. His most famous book is called Gravity's Rainbow, and it's about It's about this guy in World War II. And... Well, it's about a lot of things, but one of the main plots, this guy in World War II. And every time he has sex, a day later, that exact location gets bombed by a rocket, a V-2 rocket. And nobody can figure out why he's getting bombed, why that's happening. And this is World War II. This is in World War II. And it gets pretty weird from there. Yeah. What's fun is because, yes. The reason I recommend Crying of Lot 49 is just because it's shorter than a lot of his other books. So if you want to get a good sense of his stuff, that's a good one to start with. Because it's very his style, but it's shorter, so you can finish it quicker. Thomas Pynchon, Simpsons. Yeah, that's one to get obsessed with. His stuff is very like... Fun fact about Crying of Lot 49. It's the first documented use of shrink to refer to a psychiatrist. Like, he invented that terminology. I've got them. Just reading about I shouldn't go into it. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but it's also like yeah, people online can get weird. I was just reading something about a very weird person that I'm quite surprised with. I mean, I'd heard the story before, but I never like gone into full detail about it. Like, do you know there was a guy who started a Harry Potter why can't I say words? A Harry Potter themed cult? One thing that's kind of fascinating to me is like okay, so like that cults, so many cults are like remixes of Christianity, but like a thing I'm noticing like in more modern times is like there's been like like cults based around like media properties lately. Like there was a cult I read it was based around Final Fantasy VII, and there was a cult and there's this one I was reading about lately that was based around like Harry Potter, and they do they do the same thing. Like the premise is always like nah, don't bother. You know, okay, I'm gonna throw this out there. It's gonna be mean. I think people's love for Harry Potter is okay. Like J.K. Rowling, I don't like J.K. Rowling as a person all that much. I won't, you know, whatever. But like she. Here's the thing. I don't like Harry Potter was a very good. I didn't like Harry Potter as a kid, but I like I think like, you know, Harry Potter I don't think it would hold up to somebody who's not very nostalgic for Harry Potter, I guess is the way I want to say it. I suspect a lot of the Harry Potter fans would not, if they read it nowadays, they might not like it. You know? As much. Because I think its writing is fairly shallow at times. And like, I don't know. Yeah, I think so too. Like, yeah, I think so too. Like David Yost is a pretty good, you know, like they had some great directors go through the Harry Potter world. Like, yeah. I think David Yost is, you know, he directed most of them, and I think he's actually pretty decent. But guy who directed Gravity. Oh. I'm forgetting everybody's names. I'm so bad at remembering people's names. They have a Gravity. Alfonso Corleone. And Alfonso Cuarón, not Corleone. What am I doing? Oh boy. Am I still on? I think the internet is glitching out on me again. We'll see. I don't know what's going on. I may have. I think I'm thinking of maybe going downstairs streaming from downstairs for a while and streaming just out of my laptop. We'll see. Won't do that today, but that might be the future for a while. So, story of a filthy cat. I just made enough money from stock trading that I'm pretty sure I can afford to buy some new stuff for myself. So that's good news. I think Harry Potter was fine for what it was, which was a competently written juvenile book. And then that's all people wanted to read. So, I don't want to be mean. That's me being mean again. Again, I'm not sure, but I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. That's Ray Brad. I like Ray Bradbury as a writer a lot. I think Ray Bradbury is a really good writer, but I always found Fahrenheit 451 to be quite boring. I'll admit something to you. I never finished it. I found it a little bit of a struggle to get through. I prefer the Martian Chronicles. The Martian Chronicles, I think, are really cool. But for some reason, we don't talk about the Martian Chronicles. We talk about mostly just Fahrenheit 451. Here's my theory about Harry Potter, if I could, just for a second. Harry Potter... Yeah. Well, the Martian Chronicles are just a collection. Yeah, he's like a lot of sci-fi writers who... I feel like sci-fi is one of the rare genres, I think, that does really well in short story form. Like, horror and sci-fi books, I think there's no coincidence, like, it's not a particular coincidence that a lot of really good horror and sci-fi writers all short stories. Like, their main stuff that they wrote, the most type of thing that they wrote is short stories. Okay, so I've talked about this before, what Harry Potter actually did write. And, Jones, bullshit. I don't. I have friends who are, and so I don't. I dislike her on a personal level like that. Yeah. I have friends who are trans, and I dislike her on a personal level because of that. Here's what I'll say. Harry Potter is very good at creating what I call a sandbox in fiction. So what Harry Potter did was tell you exactly how to insert yourself into the world of Harry Potter. Because because people aren't Harry Potter, but they aren't, like, if you read, like, okay, because it's like, okay, they tell you, like, there's 4 houses, they correspond to 4 different personality traits, and all 4 of them are, like, different types of people, and, everybody has all these, like, specialties, and it's like, you can and it's also a school. So it's like everybody, like each house are different types of people. So you can easily go like, oh, I'm kind of like that. So I can just easily insert myself into this whole universe. And it's like you yourself can have all these like special adventures that aren't directly related to the main Harry Potter story, but are Harry Potter, part of the Harry Potter universe very easily. It's so easy for like a kid to write themselves into the Harry Potter universe. And it's compounded by the fact that it also takes place at a school that kids would know. Like, well, like, here's kind of the formula. Easy to identify personality test that like divided into things that makes it easy for kids to project. A type of thing that a kid would be familiar with, like a school, but school has to be different in some way. Like, kids don't want to... School, boring. Oh, but what if school was magic school? Ooh, that's fun and exciting. What if instead of, like, a school teaching you boring stuff, like, literature and, it taught you interesting stuff like how to cast spells. And the third part is Harry Potter kind of offers a fantasy of you, yes, you kid. You know, are you maybe a little bookish and underappreciated by your family? Well, guess what? Actually, you're secretly a really wealthy, super powerful wizard who's already famous. You know, who's famous already. And it's like, you know, but not everybody in the world knows it. It's a secret, and you know, so it's like, that's like, I think what Harry Potter did. It's like, and it used all that stuff successfully. But like, you know, now that adults, I'll say this, adults who aren't into that whole thing already and weren't like Harry Potter fans initially, like that, who the fuck gives a shit about that now? Like, I think when adults read stuff, like I think the standard, like, adult fantasy is to find comfort in, you know, when you're a kid, you want to go out and conquer the world, and an adult, you want, like, you know, adults, just because of they're adults, want a little bit more complicated, like, storytelling in their stories, usually. They want stuff, like, maybe with a little bit more poignancy, with a little bit more, like, makes you think, and if you're grown up, you should be a little bit more comfortable with, ambiguity. But I think also adults focus on, like, how characters, like adult fiction usually, like, it's really interesting, I would say, to look at the Fantastic Beasts movies, which were not great movies, but I think had an interesting protagonist. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is what I mean about the internet being really spotty. This is what I mean about my internet just being horrible and spotty this whole time. I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me too. I think we're going to change locations. I'm going to change locations pretty soon. And we'll do this from downstairs for a while. I'm going to change to a different, because the internet up here is just terrible. It's just terrible, and I don't know how to fix it. You know what? Let's call it here. Because it's so spotty. Just, it does not seem to be working, and it's driving me up a wall. So we'll call. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, here's the thing. I'm seeing the stuff. It's just taking a while for it to pop up to you. Yeah. Okay. No worries. If it's fine. Yeah. So it's like Harry Potter works very well as like juvenile fantasy, and if you grew up with it, like the fact that it got more mature over age, I get how it's like I'm not blind. I see how it was appealing to kids, but I don't know. For some reason, it never spoke to me as a thing. Maybe because it required me to read a lot more than I would usually as a kid. I didn't become more of a reader till I was a grown-up, and I didn't become truly motivated to start reading till after I got into comic books, and then slowly transitioned into... Well, that's not exactly how it happened, but I got into like superheroes and comics, and then kind of transitioned into reading about non-superheroes Yeah, exactly. Listen, it got a generation into reading and then they stopped immediately afterwards. It's like, yeah, it got a generation of kids to read Harry Potter, and also to read and enjoy a vast swath of books like Harry Potter and more Harry Potter, and also rereading Harry Potter, and of course reading Harry Potter fanfiction. Listen, the literary they read they read those books and then didn't really bother to read it. They read Harry Potter and then nothing else. That's all they needed to. There's no other good books out there, obviously. Listen, yeah. Well, no, I mean, they were, I would say that is a problem. I don't know what the solution to that is. Like, reading there used to be all these, like, big books that everybody read. Harry Potter, one of them. And nowadays, like, everything's so fragmented, like, I don't know. Like, a book coming out is usually not an event anymore, I would say. And plus, everybody knows that, like, they'll just release the movies eventually. So, like, why bother reading the book when, like, if there's a big book that comes out, if it's any good, they'll just make it into a movie. The book itself is not the big deal. The movie that comes from it is the big deal. I was thinking, fuck yeah, man. Who the fuck do you think you're talking about? I went to New Zealand. Yeah, I love Lord. I love J.R. Tolkien. I love Tolkien. Love me some good fantasy shit. I do have a friend who, like, hates him, but I was just reading, speaking, yeah. You should. It's beautiful in New Zealand. I was just reading, by the way, about Tolkien's, like, political views, because, like, there's this whole weird controversy going around with this YouTuber. Not weird. He seems like a pretty shitty dude, but he was, like, making claims about, like, J.R. Tolkien's, like, political thoughts, like, political, like, beliefs. And the thing I know about one of the things I know about Tolkien is he actually has a fairly strange political worldview that seemed to not really like has no like is so. I've read a little bit of Jung. I really wanted to get the Red Book a while back, like with the full illustrations, but it's like $200. So, and it's like I really want, yeah. Tolkien, like, and which I was gonna make a video, like, you know, I had a little bit of an instinct. Oh, I was gonna correct them about how they don't know what they're talking about, but I'm like, not going to. If you're curious about Tolkien's thoughts on politics, he's it's so he has it's like no you'll never his stuff is so distant from any discussions. It's very strange. He's an monarch. He's an anarcho-monarchist. Like that's his political philosophy. Yeah. I mean, I'm an artist. I love Jung's art, by the way. I think it's really beautiful. Which is, he wants, like, Tolkien's desire is to both have a monarchy and have anarchy at the same time, and it's like, which was a very strange. It's very strange even now. I know, like, Jung's whole thing is, like, the whole collective unconscious, and it's, like, to, like, like, you know, I mean, I guess if you really think about it, Jung is a little bit of, it just occurred to me that Jung and Plato have, like, some, because it's, like, it is, because it's, like, you go, like, okay, yeah, he's an anarcho-monarchist. Yeah, yeah. Which is why it never really caught on, and he seems to have not thought it out all that well, but in his writings, that was kind of his basic idea. Is that he said he wants an anarchy with a monarchy. Yeah, like, one person I was reading said, like, it's maybe the best way to think about it is, like, Tolkien may have this idea of, like, there's old, like, medieval political philosophy that kind of states that it was the job of a monarch to to make sure that lords didn't have any power over the people. And that is that he believes some way the government, you know, like the monarch should have the power to make sure that the rich can't interfere, and that's their main job. But again, I don't think Tolkien ever seriously thought about political philosophy all that much. And to be fair, not everybody has to think about it. Not everything needs to be political. Philosophers, modern day critics, but that was like his most coherent idea. And he also he denied frequently that, like, you know, his war experiences had anything to do with, like, his writing. Which he says that, but yeah, exactly. But I just like pointing that out when people, like, try and attach a political philosophy to, like, Tolkien, is that, like, Tolkien had one. It was kind of weird. It was kind of weird and intractable. it was kind of weird and intractable, but like if you really want to like go for a political reading on Tolkien, that's probably the one you need to think about. Is like, I don't know, like there's the thing about it is like Tolkien survived the Battle of the Somme, and like the Somme was literally a battle where like people were absorbed into the mud, like drowned in mud, and it's like, I don't know, there's like a lot of mud imagery in like his stuff, or or there's like a lot of imagery, or like Tolkien also like famously grumbled at like this idea that he was afraid of spiders. And like, yeah, but also like the reason people say that is because Tolkien almost died because a spider bit him. He had an extreme allergic reaction to spiders, and then like all his writing contains all these like evil spiders that are constantly trying to kill people. Like, I don't know. There may be, JR. There may be a little bit of a connection there, buddy. I don't know. I've always, yeah. I don't need like. By the way, I don't need like JR. Yeah, but that's, yeah, but that's kind of what I'm saying. That's kind of what I'm saying is like Tolkien seemed to have had not really a well worked out philosophy, like political ideas all that much, and his political ideas were in real life were bizarre and very contradictory. So it's like, you know, when people try and like put that on him, it's like, I find it really funny because it's like researching his actual politics, or like, yeah, he did not really seem to know what he was talking. He had these kind of weird, bizarre ideas that have no modern ascendant, like seemingly don't fit in with anybody. Like it would be very like, I would hesitate to put him anywhere on like a political map, because I don't think he fits into any political map. I like Tolkien like strikes me as a guy who like legitimately, you know, if you said that there was a time traveler out there, like if time travel was real and like somebody came to me and said like, yeah, it existed, and it turns out Tolkien was an actual time traveler, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, no, because there was this guy online, and he was trying to like put him into this political thing, and I really wanted to respond, and like you have literally his stuff is so like, his actual political philosophy is so out there. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't think I have. There are many, you know, the thing about it is, there are many books I will never read. So. Miss Lonely Hearts is a novella. Ooh, oh. Oh, this. No. I mean, yeah. I started reading, and I'm like, yeah, like this. Yeah, this seems right up my alley. Yeah, you have just recommended me a book I probably am gonna like. This seems right up my alley. Yep. And bought. Just bought it. Yeah. Okay. Well, have you read any Kurt Vonnegut? Everybody's read Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah, no, I was like, I don't know. And then I read the description, and it's like, oh, yep, this is a book right up my alley. I also like that it's short. Because forgive me for being a little bit lazy, but there are a lot of long books out there, and I like it when a book's a little bit shorter. I think I have the opinion that authors are nowadays too obsessed with making like long books, so. Well, have you read Theodore Sturgeon's Some Blood? A modern day vampire story? Or is it Some of My Blood? Yeah. Oh, trust me. Shut up. Further on your list. Yeah. I mean, all of his stuff is really good, so... I mean, usually the one I read first was Cat's Cradle. But there's so many good ones. Yeah, some of your that's also quite a short one, so. The author, there's a whole weird connection. So, do you know the whole connection between Theodore Sturgeon and Kurt Vonnegut? So, one of the weird things about, one of the fun things about Kurt Vonnegut's whole deal is that all of his books take place in the same universe. Yes, he was the Marvel He was the MCU before the MCU existed. Characters from one of his books will pop up in another one. And there's this, one of his most reoccurring characters is a guy by the name of Kilgore Trout, who writes trashy science fiction story magazines, and Vonnegut confirmed that Kilgore Trout is in fact based on Theodore Sturgeon. And I believe Kilgore Trout appears in every book. If not the character himself, then like a character reading. Then a character reading his books. And is the protagonist of at least a couple of the stories. There's also the alien race. Oh, what's his alien race? He has a weird. There's a whole alien race that appears in his stories frequently. You know, Killer Trout. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut is funny because it's like one of the things like that they'll try and do with Kurt Vonnegut is because, you know, I always love literary critics when they try and do this. Is like they'll say, well, Vonnegut really isn't sci-fi. You know, he's. No, you don't have to. By the way, read them in any particular order. I should point that out. They're all perfectly understandable from one book to the next. It's not a series. It's like yes. Actually, no, I haven't finished it. I shouldn't say that. I have read Tom Ligotti. I have read quite a bit of Tom Ligotti, though. I'm a big fan of his like horror writing and stuff. I've recommended like Tom Ligotti's like horror novels, horror stuff to so many people, but nobody ever picks it up. I don't know. Tom Ligotti, he's another one of those guys that is like that you don't like it's hard to get like track down. I have read The Conspiracy Against the Human Race. I just never finished it. There are many books I've read but I haven't finished. Yeah. That's Ligotti for you. Do you know his whole history and stuff? Have you read any of his like horror? Have you read any of his short stories? He writes really cool short stories, by the way. It's like they're like the intersection of like Lovecraft and they're amazing. And of course, the True Detective guy totally ripped him off. I really recommend his I really recommend his short stories, like his. Yeah. Have you read his his contributions to the Lovecraft mythos? Because he has a bunch out there. Like, It's hard to describe how his short stories work because they're kind of like Hitachi 2.0. Or how's it going, buddy? My favorite one. What's the one? Zorn's. What's the? Tell me about it. Zorn's violin. Is that how you say it? It's about the violinist who has to soothe an old god every night. Is it? Zolan, I think it's called Zolan's violin. That one was always my favorite. But is it vital to this? Violin. Is she the is the person having the kid the main character, or violin? So yeah, well you're gonna have to do it then. If it's about a Is it Dagon? Was this your Nano story? That works. Works. Well, my God. I mean, you're in control of the story. You can set it to. You can change the time frame if you want. No, but as much as okay. Do you want it like? Yeah. Do you want her to not be pregnant by the time she goes to college? Yeah, there's a lot of great ones. So she has 2 kids. Oh, okay. I mean, then, yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it really depends on how stable this internet connection is. I've got energy right now to do stuff. I'm gonna probably take a break in like a few minutes to get a snack, but I'll be back. Because I am a little bit hungry right now. Freaking COVID. That works. Do it. I dare you to do it. It's possible. If it's possible, it's possible. Sure. Sure, why not? I don't really go on Reddit anymore. Yeah. Well, clearly it's worth it to somebody. And for them, it's important, so. Well, that's kind of the thing, though, Tashi. It's literally less than nothing, though. It's literally less than nothing. A machine is doing it for you. Something up if you don't want to hear my opinion on them. Oh, damn it. You know, I made this one positive comment. I made this one comment on TikTok. It's dumb, friends do a movie, and I hate it. But, it's been following me for months on TikTok because people just keep liking it. It should not be this popular, and I hate it, and it's annoying. And it's irritatingly like the most popular thing I've done all year or so. I'll be back in a sec, okay? I'm gonna get a snack.
I have returned from the void, wearing a robe right now because it's very cold. I'm very cold.
Well, it should be okay, what's going on now? Oh no. What's going on now? Everything is
Something's up. Something's up. Oh boy, something's up. Test. Why are words not showing up? Why are words not showing up?
I don't see. Why are words not showing up? Okay, words aren't showing up. This is probably another internet thing that's going wrong. I don't have the energy to fix this. So, I'm gonna call it here. Sorry. It's been 3 hours. That's a good length for one of these. Talk to you guys later. Okay? Bye.